Roblox has a problem. A pretty big problem. And I know that Roblox has a lot of pretty big problems, but I want to focus on one in particular today. And that is the crazy amount of stealing and copying of ideas that happens on the platform. Now, let me define what I mean by stealing, just to make sure we're all on the same page. When I say stealing, I mean copying or attempting to copy someone else's game or game concept tit for tat. If you've been on Roblox recently, or really at all in the past few years, you'll probably know what I mean. Take a look at this. This is Gmod, the origin of these cool little things called Nextbots. I'm sure you know what these are at this point. PNGs that follow you around and kill you for no real reason. It's great fun. Now take a look at this. This is Nico's Nextbots, a Roblox game where you're running from these cool little things called Nextbots, PNGs that follow you around and kill you for no real reason. I feel like I've seen this one somewhere before. These games are copies of someone else's game with very minuscule changes. That's not to say these aren't well made, but why should you play Nico's Nextbots when the original Gmod is right there? Sure, Gmod costs some money, but at that point it just feels like Roblox developers are stealing from the original creators, in terms of both revenue and engagement. Now, that isn't to say Roblox can't have any Nextbot games, but games like Nico's Nextbots are literally just carbon copies of something that already exists. But there is a remedy to this. Let me introduce you all to a phrase I learned recently. Steal like an artist. For those of you who don't know, the term steal like an artist essentially boils down to taking someone else's idea and putting your own unique spin on it, making the idea your own. Because, let's face it, there's no way you're ever going to come up with a 100% original idea that's never been thought up of before. So instead of trying to come up with something completely brand new and original, you can take someone else's concept and build upon it with your own ideas. You don't need to have something no one else has ever done before to have something unique. And that's exactly what happened with today's game of choice. Running from the internet. This is a Nextbot game that takes the original formula and completely flips it on its head. You're not running from the Nextbots anymore. You're fighting back. You can even fight the other players. It's a massive, chaotic, hectic mess of explosives, banana peels, and brick walls, and it's beautiful. The game has three main game modes. Players versus bots, where you and all the other players fight the Nextbots together. Player versus player, where the bots are completely absent and you're fighting everyone else. And free-for-all, where everything and everyone is your enemy. There's also meant to be a King of the Hill mode, but I've never seen it appear in the voting pools, so I don't know what's up with that. Your goal is to rack up points by attacking the Nextbots and other players with various weapons. Some of these are thrown, some are placed. You can also get consumable items to increase your speed or heal yourself, but they take some time to use. Once time is up, the player with the most points is declared the winner, and the top three get to flex on everyone else. Now, an original take on an existing concept isn't enough to make a good game. After all, it's just a concept. Making it good is all about execution, and I can happily say that Running from the Internet is very well executed. Now that we have the basics out of the way, we can get into specifics, starting with... The game lets you pick 8 different items to be a part of your loadout. You can obtain these items in-game by picking up these Mario Kart style boxes. You can get access to different items by purchasing them in the shop, which is something I want to touch on a bit later. All the items are varied and unique. Some damage, some only stun, some are thrown, while others are consumed. First is the snowball. This is a thrown weapon. Whoever hits it is stunned for a short period of time. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but you can launch yourself into the air if you throw it below yourself. Second is the bomb. The bomb is similar to the snowball, but it will explode upon impact. It also deals more damage. Don't try to launch yourself with it though, because you will take damage if you hit yourself. Next is the gravity grenade. This is a thrown weapon that will attach itself to the wall or any other surface it lands on. After a short amount of time, it'll detonate, sending nearby players and Nextbots flying. It doesn't deal any damage, but it's good for clearing out some space. There's also the landmine, which will attach itself to the surface it lands on and sit there until someone gets too close to it. Shortly after, it'll detonate in a similar fashion to the bomb. The banana peel works similarly to the landmine, but is instant to activate and deals no damage. It just stuns and ragdolls the player. Barriers are defensive items that will build a wall when thrown. If it hits a wall, the barrier can be used as a platform. The barrier can also be blown up after it is placed, and will self-destruct after a period of time. Dolls are another defensive item. They take on your appearance and distract nearby by Nextbots. They can't be obtained if you're playing player versus player, as there are no Nextbots to distract. Crates work similarly to bombs, but they're much heavier and deal more damage while having a smaller explosion radius. They're also harder to get. Stink bombs emit a toxic gas wherever they land. Anything that enters into this gas will continually take damage until they get out of it. Fireworks are shot in an almost perfectly straight line at high speed. They deal a fair bit of damage and, like the bombs, you can hurt yourself with one if you're not careful. Water balloons are basically the snowball without the boosting mechanic and a bit more damage. The guitar deals massive amounts of damage and has crazy big range, but it takes about 3 seconds to warm up, so people have time to react and immediately kill you before you can do any harm. The toilet, I'm pretty sure this is just the crate again, right? Speed Cola is a consumable item that will give you a burst of speed. The speed lasts for a fair bit, so the time it takes to drink isn't completely wasted. Cheeseburgers, no, not cheeseburgers, turkey legs, and medical kits are all healing items that replenish a bit or all of your health. The amount of time these take to consume increases the more they heal. All of these items are well balanced out and each has their pros and cons, leading to a variety of different strategies and tactics you can use to outplay your opponent, be it a player or a Nextbot. That being said, I do have some concerns about how you go about obtaining some of these items. In the shop, you're able to buy different items to add to your loadout. This in itself raises a problem, but there's another layer to it. Each item requires you to be a certain level to unlock it. I haven't seen this become a very big issue yet, but I worry that this will raise the barrier of entry. The people who are the most skilled are the ones with the best weapons, and the people who are new to the game or just starting out have to go against them with the default loadout. Now this should be fine if the items are well balanced out, which for the most part they are, but if the developers aren't careful with this, they could have a serious growth issue on their hands. But so far they've handled it well, so I trust they know what they're doing. The Nextbots in this game are pretty standard. They chase you around the map and deal around 50 damage if they get too close. They are a bit slower than most Nextbots, and that's intentional, because once there's a minute left on the timer, the Nextbots become enraged. They're suddenly way faster and more powerful than before. If they weren't much of a threat before, they sure are now. This helps to keep the rounds fresh and exciting, even after they've been going for a bit. The game still would have functioned fine without it, but it's a welcome addition nonetheless. Speaking of welcome additions, there are 3 other mechanics in the game that I haven't really talked about yet. First off are these launcher pads. Jump onto one of these and you'll be sent flying into the air. This is a nice, clean way of incorporating some verticality into the maps. From what I've seen, Nextbots don't seem to be able to use these, but I could be wrong. The second mechanic is doors. We all know them. Who would have guessed that these things could be incredibly underutilized? Yeah, doors only appear in one of the maps, and they give you access to one small room. I didn't even know this room existed for quite a while. Maybe with the introduction of more maps we'll get some more use for these, but for now they're not that important. You can also kick open doors by sliding into them, which is nice, but the feature still feels a bit redundant. Oh yeah, sliding. How many of you knew you could slide in this game? Yeah, me either. Honestly, it's not very well conveyed that sliding is even a part of the game, which is a shame because it actually turns out to be a really fun mechanic with a lot of room for strategy. Sliding gives you a quick speed boost, but forces you to slow to a stop shortly after. This means that you can use it to quickly grab an item box or evade an attack, but it leaves you vulnerable for a bit afterwards. I think the game would benefit from a small tooltip or something on the screen at the start of a round to help point out to players that sliding does in fact exist. Running from the internet's gameplay is at its best in an area with a lot of dynamic height and open space. Running from the internet currently has 4 maps: Prototyping, Stronghold, Recoil, and Pitfalls. Stronghold is by far the weakest map. It's a bit too closed in and doesn't offer a whole lot of verticality in comparison to the other maps. It's not a bad map by any means, but a single barrier is normally enough to block off an entire path. The walls around the middle also act as more of an obstacle than a platform, due to the few ways to get around them and limited methods of scaling them. Stronghold also happens to be the only map with any doors on it. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Prototyping. This one was clearly a map used for, well, prototyping. Graphically speaking, it's very basic. There's not a whole lot to it, but it strikes a great balance between being open and dynamic. You've got everything: ramps, bridges, boardwalks, you name it. The way the map has been set up makes it perfect for trap laying and fun, open combat between players and or Nextbots. In the middle ground, we have Pitfalls. This is easily the most aesthetically pleasing map of the bunch, and it's not half bad gameplay wise either. There's a lot of verticality in the form of different levels, and the map tends to be pretty open despite a few cramped spots here and there. There are plenty of ways to move between the floors as well. You've got ramps, launch pads, and just falling through the gaps in the floor. These gaps also serve as windows to hit unsuspecting players through. A well-aimed snowball from the top can knock out a Nextbot on the ground floor, and vice versa. Finally, there's Recoil. I have mixed feelings about this map. It's pretty open, which is nice, and there's plenty of verticality. I'm not entirely sure what it is about this map that I'm not a fan of, but if I had to make a guess, I'd say it's that there are too many launch pads around the place. Here they're much bigger and show up as trampolines. Half the time you're on these trampolines, which causes you to be bouncing constantly. This is a problem because you're going to have a much harder time hitting other players. Not only are most of them moving up and down constantly, but so are you, which means that you're likely to overshoot or undershoot your target. It also becomes a bit of a pain to collect the item boxes because they're all on the ground and you're in the air. This is still one of the better maps, but I think that the launch pads work best in specific areas rather than all over the place. This is a pretty solid cast of maps, even if some aren't as strong as the others. Overall, a great job from the team. You'd expect a game this chaotic to feel kind of janky or rough around the edges, but actually, this game is really smooth. The devs have gone the extra mile to polish up the game in so many areas. There are sounds for everything. Player feedback is insanely well done. The combat feels impactful, and even just hitting a bounce pad is a ton of fun. Also, I swear the music syncs up to my actions sometimes. I cannot for the life of me recreate it when I try, but sometimes it hits just right. If you haven't played this game yet, please do. If chaotic free-for-all games are your style, this game will be an absolute blast. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, why not check out this video I did on Portal 2? I'm not just a Roblox channel, you know, I play other stuff too. You can also subscribe to the channel so you'll be notified every time I upload. If you're still unsure though, just liking the video helps out a lot. That's all from me today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.